Alright, this is the second video about the Nextion display. Now we're gonna take a little bit deeper look on how to work with Nextion in a quick way. Earlier we showed how to work with the simulator, and we're gonna do the same thing right now too, but in a little bit different way. And now we're also going to take a look at how to create buttons and how to move values back and forth between the Nextion display and the Arduino environment. So first I'm going to open Nextion editor, and then I'm going to open the Visuino. I'm working with Pro, but this is just as easy to work with in the standard edition. So first I'm going to add the Nextion display. And I'm just gonna make it connected to a software serial, because if we don't have to look at the values, we just hook it up to the serial terminal, the serial 0. If we have a Arduino Mega or something, we have more serial connections, but on the Uno, a very common board, we only have one. So if we want to take a look at the values, we need to use that one, but we also need to have the Nextion display connected somehow. So what I've done is that I'm gonna use a USB dongle. So we're gonna make another USB serial connection from the computer to the board, but it's not going to be hooked up on the physical hardware serial. We're going to make it connected to some other pins. So that's why we're going to use the software serial, and I've just hooked it up to number 6 and 7. On some boards there are restrictions about which pin you can use the software serial on. On the Uno you can use, I think, I'm not sure about the pin 13, but at least most of the pins. I think it's not an issue at all. But on the Mega it's more limited, so you have to look that up if you're gonna use other pins. So now I'm gonna use 6 and 7. Off screen I have that connected, so I'm ready to roll. Now I'm gonna open the Nextion editor and start a new project, and gonna save it on the desktop. Test, like so. I'm gonna take let's see, I'm not sure about which one. I think I have, it doesn't really matter, but just for the heck of it, I'm just gonna take some board, and I'm gonna use a horizontal layout. What the heck is this? It says I have some hacked version with Nextion HMI, but it's a free version, so I don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, this is layout, very small one this time, but anyway, I'm gonna add a font, just anything, doesn't matter what. Just test. Oh, sorry, I have to create one. In the tools, font generator, and I'm gonna take some random thing, test, generate font, save it on the desktop, like so, and then I'm gonna ask for import the font, and I'm done. So now I have the font. So first I'm gonna set up a couple of buttons. I'm gonna make one button over here and another button right below. So what I think you should do if you have if you're using a big project, or you want to make something something a bit more slick and nice, you should rename all the components to whatever they are actually doing. Because sometimes you need to move values from one page to another without showing that other page. So let's say for right now I'm on the first place, but I might need to store a value on the second page. and that could be easier to do and deal with if you have specific unique names. So in this layout I have B0 and B1. If I make another page, add a button, gonna be named B0 and B1 as well. So that's not unique. So therefore I think you should rename them if you're doing a big project. But right now I'm not gonna care about that. So, and then I'm gonna use text box, and I don't know what would we like to do more. Let's just stick with that right now. I'm gonna do 2 text boxes. Alright, like so. First button, I'm gonna send the component ID on both press and release, and on the second one I'm gonna do the same, like so. And then I will do these 2 buttons in the Nextion display in Visuino. 2 buttons. I'm gonna wait a little bit on the text. And what you need to look at now, when I mark one button, I have the element ID, I have the name, and I have the page index. So, and you can always make it like if you only look at the down push or up release or whatever. But now I'm gonna make the most common settings, and that's just the name, and the name is B0, and the ID is 1, and the page index is 0 up here to the right. So I'm gonna type that in. It's ID 1 and it's B0 and the page 0. And guess what? On the second button it's gonna be element ID 2, because it's the second component I added. It's B1 instead of B0, and it's gonna be on the same page, and that is page 0. Alright. Everything looks alright. Gonna close that. And I'm gonna do a detect edge. And we're gonna take random integer. This is just to show 2 ways that you can use outputs from buttons. First, I'm going to just take this value to the serial terminal. So when it's pushed and released, it's going to send true and false. The second button, I'm going to use a detect edge, and it's going to detect a rising edge. So when it goes from false to true, it's going to trigger a clock, and that clock is going to take a value out from the random integer generator and send that one to the serial terminal. So now I am gonna upload this, as well as in the Nextion editor. I'm gonna, let's see, I have the right connection, and I'm gonna push the debug, and on the down left you have the user MCU input. This is where I'm going to use the USB dongle, the USB to serial. I'm going to choose port 25 and start. So now we see a defect. It's going to restart the board all the time. It's uploaded, so that's why it shows this defect. So I'm going to adjust that. And another thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to make sure it starts up this code, or what you like to call it, the Nextion screen, as soon as the Arduino starts up. So I'm going to close this one and go back to the Visuino, mark the Nextion display, and I'm gonna uncheck this box, reset display, because this is gonna be endless loop of just resetting the display. That's why it started to blink. So I'm gonna uncheck that one, and I am going to add a command. That looping thing was a command called rest, and that's resetting the Nextion display. I'm going to do this manual now when it's starting up the sketch. So in here I can write the command. I've added this one. Write it here, rest. Rest, not reset, but rest. It actually resets the Nextion display. That's what it's actually doing. And I'm gonna use a start component. So the first thing it's gonna do when it starts the sketch on the Arduino board, it's gonna reset the Nextion display. So that means they are both gonna start at pretty much the same time, and we know they're all going to work good together. Because if the Arduino starts first and like 10 minutes later you start the Nextion display, it might not always work. So this is why I want to do it like this. If you're using another board and not the Uno, let's say you're using an ESP based board, then you might need to do another setup, because when I connect the Arduino Uno now, I have this checkbox reset. That means as soon as I press connect, it's going to restart the Arduino board and start the script from scratch. So everything that shows up is going to be presented in the serial terminal as soon as it's connected. But the ESP doesn't do that. It doesn't reset just because you're connecting it, because it works in a different way, and I'm not sure exactly why it's like that, but it is like that. So then you might need to make a manual reset with a command. You can use a serial terminal, output it, look for a certain string, and if it says, let's say it says reset, you're gonna trigger the reset function on the board. You have that baked in the ESP settings. But I'm not going to care about that right now because I'm using an Arduino Uno. Alright, as soon as it starts, I'm going to send the command, and the command is rest, which means reset the board. And I've unchecked the reset display from true to false. I'm going to upload, like so. And in the Nextion editor, I'm going to just connect. And Uno is uploaded. Go back to the Visuino and press connect, and then I'm just gonna restart the Nextion editor. You're not gonna show it right now, but it's gonna do it. You won't see it, but now it's restarted. So first thing it does is to pull the value false, and that's because the button button 1 is called B0. It's not pushed at the moment, so that means that it sends false. The other one is not directly connected to the serial terminal. It goes through this detect edge, so it's not gonna output a value yet. Then I go in here, press the first button. You see it sends some commands to the Visuino, and it went from true when I pushed it down and false when I released it. If I push the other button, it's gonna show the random integer value at that specific moment. If I do it several times, it's gonna take several values. So I've got the two buttons working. I should rename the text on the board. Button 1. If you're trying to write something too long, it's going to complain because it's more characters than it's allowed, and that's the settings you have down here. So if you have to have a long name, you just make this value bigger. Alright, and button 2, and random text. Too long. I'm gonna change this value. Let's see, 30 characters. Random value, and I'm gonna do, let's see, let's say I make this, I think I will make this like a keyboard. That should be good. So let's see, full QWERTY sounds good. And now it says I have to make it, the value on this vscope is going to be from a local variable or local string, and I have to change that to the global. The global means that I can access this value, reset and get that value from other pages as well. And that's good when you're moving values from to another screen, a screen that you're on another page that you're not on right now. Then you need a global variable. Alright, let's say max length 100. Oh, sorry, we're not gonna use 100, but just in case. Type something, and I'm gonna make it breakable, so it's gonna take a new line as soon as we're full width, so we're gonna fit more characters. And the naming on these two are T0 and T1. The ID is 3 and 4, and we're gonna add these two in the Nextion display. These two is gonna be called text. I'm gonna add 2 of them, and I'm not sure if this is a bug or if it's something that I'm still haven't figured out exactly why it is, but these two doesn't do jack shit. It doesn't do nothing. So let's see, I'm just gonna put something in this text box, and I could use this random integer and put it into this text one. So first I'm gonna have to change the values. Element ID is number 3 in this one, name is T0, and page index is 0. And remember, if you're doing a big project, you should set another name over here, not use the same name twice in the whole Nextion editor. Use unique names. And this is going to be element 4, T1, and page 0. Alright, it come to my attention by Gilles Meloche, or Gilles Meloche, I don't know, but he often do this. As soon as you start one page, you should immediately on pre-initialize send the command send me. I personally don't use this command, at least not very often. He does it all the time, and the point for that is because if you don't rename your components all the time, you could have an issue with when you're looking for a particular command, like a button, or if you're sending something back to the Nextion, it must know what page you're currently on. That could be avoided if you write the prefix for the page and the unique name for the component. But if you have an extreme amount of components in Nextion, you might don't have the time or energy to name everything. So in those cases it's very important to use the send me command, so that Visuino doesn't have the wrong component information. So it believes B0, for example, is a button on the current page, but you're currently on another page. Therefore you're gonna have another button function or text box or whatever have you. So use the send command on every page you jump to. So if I start a new page over here, I should type send me. I don't use it, but he does it all the time, and he have a good point with that you should use it. So it doesn't cost you anything to just write send me on that page. Now, when I want to set this value on and feed it into this element, we have to add a modifier. We have to make this one to set a string. Could use integer, I guess, but we're gonna make it a string anyway. And in here, the property name. The property name of this is these. These are the property names. So if I'm gonna change a thing over here, let's say I'm gonna change the text, I use txt as a property name. On this one, it's the very same thing, txt. This is gonna be replaced when I feed a new value into it. So I'm gonna use a set string. This is the value it's gonna set when I send a clock signal. But if I don't want a specific value set, let's say I want a different value each time, a custom value, you have to use a sync pin. So now I have sync pin, and voila, I have yet another input, the value, this field. So I'm gonna forget about this one, the first text input. I'm gonna use this one instead, and when I fed a value in here, it's not gonna do anything, but when I press the clock after that, then it's gonna store the value. So I am going to use a multiple text source. I'm gonna take several, sorry, the wrong one. I'm gonna take this one, and I'm gonna take this value over there. I'm gonna take the first going into the value. So first it's gonna send a value, then it's gonna make a clock signal. So as long as a new value coming in, it's gonna send a clock signal. If it's the same value, it's not gonna send anything out here. Right? So when I push this button, button 2, it's gonna detect an edge, it's gonna pick up a random integer, send that one both to the serial terminal for us to show, to look at the values, as well it's gonna send it to this multiple source. It's gonna send the value into the set string on the first text box, this one, T0, and it's gonna send a clock signal to actually move the value. Alright, I'm gonna upload this sketch. Like so. And close, connect. Not compile, sorry. Debug. Oh, for fuck's sake. Input start. I was too quick on this one. I'm gonna connect it, disconnect it and connect it again. Now it's restarted the Nextion display, and when I push the first one, it's gonna send false and true. False and true. Sorry, true and false. And on the second one, it's going to send a detect edge pick up a value from the random integer and send it over here. Voila! It's happened absolutely nothing. So let's take a look at why nothing happened. We got a value over here. We got it sent to this one. Store this value on set string. Clock. Let's see what I have. What settings I have on here. I have the element name T0. Here we go. Here we have the issue. Do you see it? Property name. It's blank. So the value I'm gonna send is gonna go into a specific property, and that property is this txt. So I have to add that txt. Press enter. Upload the code and start the simulator. Yada yada. Start. Upload the code. Now in the background you're gonna see it's flash. As soon as it's uploaded the code, it's gonna start the sketch and it's gonna flash once. There you go. That's when it's resetting the screen. Alright, the first one, let's see, first one is gonna make a true false, true false, true false, true false, true false, and the second one is gonna put up the value, and that's the same value as we got over here. Voila, that is working. Great. If I push this one, I'm gonna have a keyboard. Nothing happens, okay. Though watch that. I'm gonna close this one. I should have a keyboard. Let's see. Global. Oh, I forgot about this full QWERTY. Okay, something is imported. It's another font. So it's QWERTY and it's a new font. Alright, start. I'm gonna disconnect and connect again just to make the Nextion screen restart. Now I have something I can type. So the thing here now is I can set a value in this box, but so far we don't have it happening anything. We're not gonna move a value to the Arduino or anything right now, but we'll try to make that work. We could use we could do it in a several different ways. We can pull this value several times. I think I remove this text too. It's not gonna do anything useful, because we're not gonna store a value on it, we're gonna pull a value. So I'm gonna remove that one. So what I could do is I could get string to fetch a value, and I could point it to this one. So I can fetch this one. Either I could do it several times a second, and as soon as something changes, it's gonna pick up that value, or I could do it like so. If I put this, let's say I press this button, it fetches this value. I could do it that way. I'm gonna go with that way. I'm gonna move this button down here. No, I'm gonna rewire this one. This one is gonna fetch this value instead of just sending true false, and this one is gonna fetch this text box. Right, go back here, get string, look at the command. I'm gonna type get and the value on that specific page. We could just type T1, that should be it, that should be enough. But if I am on another page, I want to type home dot, let's see, home dot T1. and that is because the page is home, the dot is just something, I don't know exactly what I call it, but that's the delimiter between T and 1. So this is the name on the component on this page, right? Since it's a global variable, global component rather, you can fetch it from another page. That's why it complained when I made it QWERTY keyboard. It needed to have it as a global component. Alright, so when I press the first button, it's going to fetch the integer, and I'm going to take this one, detect edge, and I'm going to take this one and fetch the value from the text box. Where do I have it? Over there. And I'm going to move this to the serial terminal, like so. Upload. And it's uploaded. Now I'm going to have a new value over here, and the second one is going to move this value to the serial terminal, so it should show up. If I had this connected, it should show up there. Got some values, and we got button 2, and nothing happens. Okay, why is that? Did I do something wrong? I probably did. What was it? T1, it's a global, it's on the, oh sorry, it's not home, it's page 0 is the name. Page 0, so I have to change that command. Get string, get home, page 0. It should work with just T1 because we only have this page and so on, but just in case you have, let's say the scenario, what could happen for you is if you don't rename this one and you are on another page and you have another component named just the same, it's gonna pull the wrong value. So that's why I think you should both keep a unique name and write the page name in front. So if you change that one to, let's say you have changed it to home or page 0 or start page or whatever you have, that is going to be needed to be typed in here as well. Alright, upload that code. I'm going to connect it, yada yada. And start. And upload. Alright, I'm going to connect the serial terminal. Now when I press this, it's a random value, and that text is going to be moved into the serial terminal. Now why is that? I have to look at the instructions. Let's see, Nextion instruction set. I'm going to search for get attribute, and that attribute is T0. Oh, it's the property. I'm missing the property. So then the T0 is the same as T1 over here. In the example they left out the page 0, but you could use it any way you want. But just remember that the complication could be if you have the same name on several components. I'm gonna add .txt that fetches the right property. You could fetch other properties as well, of course, since it's have several strings in the same component. It's just called different things. Each property have a different name. So uploaded, and I'm going to connect like so. And it should have, oh, look at that, look at that. Whoa. So I'm going to change this to something, let's say, I'm going to type Nextion. Nextion. Okay. And button 2. And we got the value over here. Voila! Alright, I think you got the whole picture. We're gonna show one last thing, and that is a command box. Command. I'm gonna set the command to something that is not static. I'm gonna use it as a sync pin, so I could send whatever I like to that via, let's say, serial terminal. So char to text, character, and put that one to, let's see, text multi-text. Alright, first it's gonna send the command, and then it's gonna take the clock and trigger it. So why did I do that? Yeah, what I did do was pretty much this. If I disconnect this one, and instead of user MCU input, I'm gonna use keyboard input. Now I could change value, let's say set. You see some help over here as well. Oh, sorry, you're gonna use page 0 dot, and we see different names, so different properties. We could use T0 as well, and T0, T1, whatever, dot txt equals hey, and it sends that command and change it on the screen live. And that's what I'm after. I'm going to do the same thing, but from the Nextion. Sorry, from Visuino. So now I have this uploaded, and I'm going to connect. And the value I have now is reset to try something. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write out the command. And that was page 0.t1.txt equals quotes hey man, and enter. So it sends that from the Visuino, sorry, from the Arduino serial terminal out to character to text. So now it's a text value, goes into the multi-text source, send the value to the command, and then trigger the command. And it set the new value on the Nextion display. You can go very in-depth on this. You could change values. Let's say you're gonna change. Let's say I'm gonna change this value to something. Gonna just to show that it doesn't have to be text. I've never done this command, so I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try it anyway. Page 0.t1, I think it was, dot, and we're gonna take a look at the property. Let's say BCO, background color, I think. I'm not sure what values we could use here, but let's say 5 numbers should be enough. BCO background color dot, no, sorry, equals, and this is this is not a string, so we don't need quotes. This is an integer, so we're gonna take 1 2 3 4 5, press enter and see if something happens. Yay, we changed the background color. So we don't have to use only txt, we can use any properties over here. As far as I know, we can use pretty much any, it could be all the green ones, I'm not sure, but we can at least change the most common one is the text, of course, and the colors, and I think the font is quite common as well. That's all. We're not going to show any more in this tutorial. I hope it's enough for you to get on and make quite complicated project. You can make a ton of cool stuff with this. So, see you next time. Bye.